In a quiet town lived a young man named Chris. He was not lazy, careless, or incapable. In fact, Chris had always been known as someone with ideas, dreams, and curiosity about life. He imagined a future where he was confident, successful, and proud of himself. Yet despite all this potential, his life stayed exactly the same year after year. The reason was simple, but dangerous. Chris trusted one habit more than action. Whenever life demanded effort, courage, or discipline, he answered with the same sentence: "I'll do it later." Later felt harmless to Chris. It felt like a soft pillow that allowed him to rest without guilt. When he planned to study seriously, later reminded him that there was still plenty of time. When he thought about exercising or improving his health, later whispered that tomorrow would be a better day to start. When his dreams felt too big or frightening, later promised that the perfect moment would arrive someday. Chris believed he was being patient and practical, unaware that patience without action slowly turns into self-deception. At first, Chris's life felt comfortable. He avoided stress, pressure, and fear by delaying everything important. But slowly, discomfort returned in another form. Months passed, and Chris noticed his friends changing. People who once shared the same struggles began moving forward. Their skills improved, their confidence grew, and their lives slowly took shape. Chris remained in the same place, telling himself that his time would come soon. He did not realize that time does not arrive, it only passes. Opportunities entered Chris's life quietly. Some came as chances to learn, others as moments to take responsibility or step out of his comfort zone. Each time, Chris delayed his response. Opportunities do not shout when they leave, and Chris never noticed when they walked away. He believed there would always be another chance, not understanding that repeated delay makes opportunities harder to recognize. Years passed, and Chris's excitement faded into quiet regret. His dreams still existed, but they no longer felt alive. They felt distant, fragile, and unrealistic. Chris was not exhausted from effort. He was exhausted from avoidance. Every unstarted task remained in his mind, pressing against his thoughts, reminding him of the life he was postponing. Slowly, fear changed shape. It was no longer the fear of failure, but the fear of reaching the end of life without ever truly trying. One night, overwhelmed by frustration and disappointment, Chris fell asleep at his desk. In his dream, he woke up in a strange and silent city. The streets were empty, the air was heavy, and the buildings stood cracked and unfinished. Everything looked abandoned halfway through creation. The city felt familiar, as if it had been built from his own memories. A man appeared before him, pale and tired, with eyes full of regret. His posture carried the weight of years wasted. When Chris asked who he was, the man replied calmly, "I am later." Confused and uneasy, Chris followed him through the broken streets. The man pointed to abandoned buildings one by one. Each structure represented something Chris had postponed: unfinished education, unused talents, ignored responsibilities, and dreams delayed again and again. Later explained that he never destroys anything. He simply waits. He waits until excitement fades, courage weakens, and intentions lose their urgency. He waits until dreams feel too heavy to carry. He then led Chris to a mirror, where Chris saw an older version of himself standing alone, worn down by regret, holding nothing but excuses. In that moment, Chris understood that this future was not punishment or bad luck. It was the result of countless small delays. The city began to shake. The buildings cracked and collapsed, filling the air with dust and noise. Panic rose in Chris's chest. He shouted that he did not want this life, that he was ready to change. As the ground crumbled beneath his feet, Chris woke up suddenly, breathing heavily, his heart racing. The room around him was unchanged, but his understanding had shifted completely. That morning, Chris chose action over comfort. He did not wait to feel motivated or confident. He started with one small step, taken immediately, then another. Progress was slow, imperfect, and sometimes uncomfortable, but it was real. For the first time, Chris stopped trusting later and began trusting now. He finally understood a truth that changed everything. Life does not change when you plan more, think more, or promise yourself better days. Life changes the moment you act. And once Chris chose action, the future he once feared slowly began to take shape. Procrastination does not steal time, it steals your future. Start now. Later costs everything.